lovely. Oh, what can I say? Yes, you. You on the spotlight. All of that color around you, in and about. All of that you are, and we appreciate love you being in the community in a shining light. We welcome you, Reverend, and please enlighten us on how we can start our continue our learning in Medu Neter.
Uncle Jasum, Hitepu, you know, I'm so glad Mukbakat, and I think I'm in afternoon right now. So, but I've been sitting at this computer so long, I feel like it's just like one long day. I stayed up last night just kind of finalizing things for this weekend and what have you. But I want to give thanks for the children this morning. I want to give thanks to the other elders because I can about ask myself for permission to speak as old as I am. But I'm extending it out to all my other elder community, you know, that I am humbly at your feet.
What?
You know,
you're only 20. What is that?
Oh yeah, that's
you
right.
have over there, that skin ain't what? That's 20.
No, we South Carolinians we don't crack like that. You know, we stayed like just frozen, you know, till we hit 80. So I give thanks for those good genes. But I give thanks, as I said, to everyone and to just the Neteru and for all the forces within nature that have given me this mission, this vision to take on the charge of understanding and trying to decode the messages that our ancestors left for us. Now, the first thing I need to say, my name is Abut Smsut Beset. I am a minister here at KRST Unity Center of African Spiritual Science, as well as an Abut Smsut of the Shrine of Beset, which we don't call ourselves priests and priestesses. We call ourselves guardians and protectors of the shrines and the information. And I come out of the lineage of Per Ankh, which is led by Brother Samaj. And most of you in New York and on the East Coast know Brother Samaj. My Medu teacher in the early days, Infidisia and I went to college together. So we have known each other and worked with each other since back in the group. And so too many years back to say. And then when I came out here to the West Coast, I worked with Queen Mother. And I used to get very angry with her sometimes because we stayed on a year on one symbol. But as I've grown in my studies, I now understand that sometimes one symbol is all that you need to study until you get really an understanding of what that symbol means, not just the sound. Now, there's a lot of information, and I'm going to try to get through as much as I can, and I have visuals, so I'm going to need to have an opportunity to share, because as I said before, I don't deal with the language as it's spoken. I deal with the sounds and the movements of the symbols. So the way I approach it and do is to breathe life back into what looks static, but there is an energy there. If you go into the temples, you can feel the symbols trying to speak to you. You know, you can feel the energy of why our ancestors dug them so deeply into the temple wall so that they would remain there for us to be able to come back and to find the messages that they left. Now, the Medu Neter, and I emphasize this, and I know some people will disagree with me, but the Medu Neter, which is the language of creation, the language of the observations of the universe, the conversation that the priests were having with creation. That's what brought about the symbols and the language of the Medu Neter, which we call the divine speech. Then we have Sesh Kemet, and we have other, breakdowns of the which we call the Medut Ra'un Kemet, which is the language. And that's the stuff that, we teach everybody else. But the sacred language was never meant for everybody, which is why people don't understand why they can't learn it. It wasn't meant for everybody. So just like some of us have problems with learning the history, the dates and all of that, because we are not that in our lives, and others can pick up the symbols. So what I'm saying to you is that if you're having a little difficulty, then you might not be a scribe. You might not be from the class of scribes, but you can learn the basics so that you can read, so that when you go to the temples, you'll be able to decipher what is being said. And it's important that you don't follow the transliterations, that you follow the symbols. Because many times when I'm teaching my students to read, when we get off the transliteration and we go by what we know the symbols are saying, sometimes the message that is there is totally different, especially in the Purim Heru. And so as you're reading the Purim Heru, read along with the symbols, because the transliterations can take you in a whole different directions, because the etymology of the words were words that we didn't even have at the time when the temple scriptures were being written. So this is me fast forwarding. So what I want you to have today? One of the things is in Fadishi for the children, you need to make sure that you get his flashcards, and even for the adults that want to learn. I know some of you may have them, but he has flashcards that have the alphabet, and the cards are beautiful. All right, the cards have the symbols, and then they tell you what the sounds and stuff are, or what they think the symbol is projecting. So this one is a pool of water, which gives you shh in terms of the transliteration sound. Now, we all know about Ebonics, and so the one thing I can't do, and that's why to say people, I can't teach you how to speak the language, because we don't have sounds for the determinatives. And the determinatives is that symbol that comes after the phonograms and the other symbols, that tells you the exact meaning that is in the, that gives you further clarification of what the meaning of a word is. So if I can't give you a sound to the determinative, if we're having a conversation, I might be saying infer, and it could mean 40 different things if you don't know what the symbol is behind that word. You have to know what the determinative is. So that could only be done if I wrote it to you. So if I'm just speaking to you and we were trying to have a conversation on the phone, we could say one or two words, in a limited conversation. But to have a whole dialogue, you would have to know what the determinatives were that were following the words. And then you're going to see some of that in some of the images that I show you. So understand that you need to know the determinatives. Our ancestors spoke. I've got somebody with more sound coming through, and you need to know what the symbols stand for. Our ancestors, and even beyond the symbols, because I'm getting all over the place. Can they turn their mic? Can they put their mic on mute? Beyond even knowing your symbols, we know when people say we can't speak the language the way our ancestors did because it's a lost language. It's a lost language. We know how the instruments were tuned. And we know that a lot of what was done in the temples in the Medu Neter were hymns, were done sound, vibration, chanting ways. So we know that our folks tuned all their instruments to the minor pentatonic scale. So there were 5 major notes. So one of the things when you're studying the Medu Neter, you need to learn the scale. And begin to start to chant in that minor pentatonic scale, because it will help you feed into the vibration of the Neter, feed into the vibration of what our ancestors would have been playing inside the temples, so that when you go into the shrines, you have the energy of the vibration, the sound vibration that was in the words. We also have, besides the sound vibration, we know that there was movement within the Medu. And that movement came from us observing nature, the wind, the rain, the animals, how they moved, the sounds they made, because we chose these animals because of the forces of nature that they represented. Because we know we didn't worship animals, but we used a lot of birds and animals within our symbols. And that was because nature, the animals and all of nature, was our first teachers. That was our first teachers. That's where the Medu sprang from. There was nothing. And then there was the Medu. All right, so we know that didn't happen like that. So there was observation in the universe. And the only way that we could communicate with the universe when we didn't have articulate speech was through symbols and through dance and through music, through the sounds that we heard around us, because we heard nature communicating. So we knew that we had to come forth with that same kind of understanding in order to become one with the as above, so below. We wanted to connect back to the grid of creation. So yes, in the temples, training was a long time. You just didn't learn Meta Neter on the side. You didn't learn Meta Neter from just sitting saying, I'm going to take a class once a week. No, this is every day, 24/7 every day. You're thinking it comes, that's if you want to learn it. Now, if you want to learn a few phrases, excellent. And I think the children are ripe for learning it because you can put it in their lunch boxes. You can drop a symbol, somewhere around the house, and give rewards for the one that gets the symbol, of the day or so. There's plenty of ways of incorporating the pictures. So you don't want to be concerned with transliteration, because just like in Chinese, when you go into a Chinese restaurant, what do they do with the menu? Because none of you speak Chinese. All of you like Chinese food. You don't speak Chinese. You can't read the menu. So what do the Chinese do? They transliterate their language so that you can pronounce the dishes. Now, when you do that, they don't translate it. When you speak it back to them in that transliterated language, you are not speaking Chinese. You are speaking the language that is given this, the sounds and stuff that are given to the symbols in order for you to understand it. That is the same thing that they did with our Medu Ne'Chad. They did not give our symbols the sounds that they were spoken in, or the vibration they were spoken in. They put them into an academic order of symbols with the alphabet so that they could give voice to the symbols that they didn't understand. So when we're speaking the transliterations, like when we say Hetep, Hetep is just HTP. HTP doesn't mean anything to us in Medu. But when I see an altar, or if I see the bread loaf or the breast, or we even say sometimes that it's the woman's belly when she's pregnant, all of these things of nurturing and giving forth life. And then when we see that the symbol for the P, the stool, then that says something different to us than an HTP. That gives us a whole meaning about the altar and placing things on the altar. And placing your heart on the altar. And, when you offer yourself and you say Hetep, it means something different. The one thing I want to emphasize too with the word like Hetep, and I'm going to illustrate it in the PowerPoint in a minute. Many of us say Hotep, not saying anything about anybody, the way anybody says anything. But what I want to show is that Hotep would have 4 sounds, H-O-T-P. When you write it out in the Medu, you only get the symbols for H-T-P. There's no O. We didn't have O. O came, at the end of the middle kingdom. O was way down the road. We didn't have O. They added O in order to give it more clarity for them later on, but there was no O, so it was HTP. Now, even if we wanted to use the symbols and the sounds that they have given us in transliteration, then that would be because there's no vowels. So if we wanted to add the E's, then it would be Hetep. But there is no O. So I just want you to know, if you're going to use transliteration, then transliterate it correctly so that then everybody understands and are following some kind of codified system. I've spoken to many Medu teachers. I don't think there's anyone that I've met that is a Medu master. Many people say I'm a master teacher, whatever. No, we're not master teachers. We are master students, because we are constantly unfolding new wisdom and information behind these symbols. And as I said, it's a lifetime journey. It's not something that happens overnight, because as we are learning the symbols, we have to first put ourselves in the mind of the scribe, the Secesh, and learn how to write them. Because in the writing, there is vibration. In the perfection of writing the symbols, there is a high vibration. So you have to take the time. So start with one symbol and you write that symbol until you perfect it. Our ancestors were about being splendid. Our ancestors weren't mediocre in anything they did. In anything, they were splendid. I like that word because they use it sometimes when they're talking about construction. Let it be a splendid thing. So I'm saying, and that's how I approach everything. Let it be a splendid offering. So that's how they did with the Medu. The Medu, within its interpretation and stuff, if you go into it, you have to be in a splendid state of being. Not that I'm going to just go ahead and just a few of these symbols and I'll figure out the rest of them. No, one by one, take those symbols and ask yourself, why the owl? Why the vulture? Why the kepra beetle? You know, why the reeds? Why the pool? You know, when they're used as determinants, what else are they saying to us? Because we know it's just beyond the words. It's not just it's not like ABCD like we have here, you know, these endless words, these words that don't have any meaning. No, we are talking about that everything was meaningful. So they didn't put something there that didn't mean nothing. Now, and remember though, that they did align things so that it was aesthetically pleasing. So sometimes if something doesn't fit in the right order and in the right shape, it doesn't fit in the square right, they will change the direction of things. So you have to know what the symbols mean to know when they've altered the directions in order to fit it into the square. So when you're looking at that square and you look at the symbol, you say, okay, now this alignment, I know that this is supposed to be this word, but this H is in the back instead of in the front. And then you realize that it's matched up against two other smaller symbols so that the alignment is balanced. We were about balance and order in everything that we did. So I want to show you a little bit just in terms of the first sound that I want you to look at today. And then I'm going to give you just a couple of books for the children and stuff to get them involved in the Medu, that they can learn some sound and stuff. One I want to throw up real quick, because this is Sister Ricketti's. If you just want to play with conversation, Sister Ricketti did this book called Majat Wafa, conversation book. Okay, English to Meta Nature. All right, so, you know, and it has a lot of things in it, like how are you, go in peace, be well, celebrity and stuff. But as I said, just understand you're speaking transliteration. You're not speaking the Medu, you're speaking transliteration. That's giving a sound to the symbols, all right? But what you wanna look at is you wanna teach the children how to be able to identify groups of symbols. So when they see let me think of an easy one. If they see legs, the running legs, they know that that means they don't need to transliterate it. They don't even need to know that that's per. They just need to know that that's the word that symbolizes go, come, anything with movement of the legs. If they see these two legs that look like they're running, they're not on a body, they're just two legs. And I'll show you that in a little bit. But I'm saying if you see that, then you know, you tell the kids, oh, okay, that means there's something that has to do with the action of the legs. As soon as they see that, they don't need to transliterate it. Just know that that's action of the legs. So start teaching the children with the symbols and translate it to English. Don't worry about transliterating it, because as I said, they'll only be able to speak it among themselves in a small group, because without the determinatives giving sound. So maybe one day somebody will take the time to give all the determinatives a sound, and then we'll be able to give meaning to all the words as we're talking. But right now, there's no sounds to those determinatives. They were placed there in order to give further meaning to the word. All right, so you have to, you know, pick. Sometimes it's hard to find this book, but then, you know, it's you see mine is a little beat up because I use it for the kids. And so, like I said, it has all of the talking about the family and all that stuff. Now, some of the things that Sister Ricketti has here, there's so many different words that say the same thing in Kemet. So you'll see something here, you'll say, oh, I never used that word for that. Well, you go into the dictionary, sometimes there's 10 different words for the same word, or there's 40 words for the same word. So it's a matter of picking the one that you want to use. Now, how I pick a word in terms of when I'm in a dictionary, I try to stick to my first choices are always from Old Kingdom. Is that word from Old Kingdom? I try to find the oldest form of the word, and then I'll move into the other kingdoms after that. And then if it moves into the Greek, that it doesn't have any, or just even the Coptic, and it doesn't have any connection to an Old Kingdom word, then I don't use that word first. I go back to the original form of the word first. So I always check Old Kingdom, see if I can find a word that is an Old Kingdom for that. You know, if for say like day, you know, I would use Heru because Heru comes up in the Old Kingdom. All right, okay, so I know there might be questions, and I'm saying to you, I teach here at KRST, Unity Center of African Spiritual Science. I was teaching a Medu class here, and I've been teaching it for over 5 or 6 years. I stopped teaching it because students stopped studying it. I'm not wasting my time because it is not an easy subject to teach with people coming every other week you're not studying. You're not serious about the information. So I can hand you out a handout and you can learn whatever it is you want to learn in terms of the alphabet, because it's online. You will never see a class of mine online because I believe, just as my teachers told me, to everyone it was not given. So the Madun Necher is not to be put into the hands of everyone, because there are, within the sacred text, there is wisdom there that in the hands of those who don't understand the deeper meanings and stuff, they can use it to do harm, or they can harm themselves. So they need a teacher, they need an instructor, they need a sabah to take them through, because everybody's about teaching themselves. No, you need a sabah. I need a sabah, you know. And so I'm saying, so we have never reached a place where we don't need a teacher, where we don't need someone else until we have gained that so-called mastery. But as I said with Madhu, I don't know any master teachers at this point. Sister Makeda, is it possible for me to share screen?
I believe I should make you co-host. You should be able to.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
5 minutes.
Okay, all right. So what I wanted to do is show you a couple of PowerPoints with the sounds. When I told you that I deal with the sounds, so what you're going to hear is you're going to see pictures of a symbol that we use. It's going to tell you some of the meanings of that particular symbol, and then you're going to hear the sounds of the bird that symbol came from, so that you know that where the language was being brought from. You'll know where the language is being expressed from and what sounds we were trying to recreate. So I'm going to try to share both screens at the same time here, because this is like one of those magic feats that I'm going to get ready to try to do. Okay.
Yeah, now we're seeing it. We give about a couple of more minutes.
All right, so let me just, because your understanding with the vulture, give it from the beginning. All right. Okay. I just hear the sound, you know, how this would be happening in a chant. Okay. Anyway, so what I wanted you to get to see is that there were so many images of and so many aspects of the vulture that our ancestors, as you can hear, that sound was a sound in nature that, you know, that called us into our understanding of how animals communicated, how they called each other for, you know, to make love, to whatever it was that we learned it from these other forms. I just want you to see, if you can see this image. Can you? Hello?
Yes.
Can you see this?
Yes, we do. Wrapping it up. Yes.
Okay, I'm wrapping. You see, this is called this vulture is called the Pharaoh's pigeon. So just look at the way it looked. Look, you know, it's terrifying. It's you know, the sound is terrifying. For it to represent motherhood, because the you know that the vulture, you know, life on something that is dead can chew on dead parts, you know, and feed off of it and still survive. Their wingspan was magnificent. All of these were attributes and qualities that we wanted to imbibe and we put into the meditation. Look at how wonderful and how majestic this bird looks. And so as I end on sharing this particular let's see, escape here, I just wanted to something that is all right, this image here. This is the owl. Another one of our big symbols in Medu is the owl. And this particular owl was the owl that was found in ancient Kemet, was the horned owl. But this owl don't look like it takes no stuff. This is our sound of But we know it was much more than that. Yes. Ashe. I think that look says everything. You know what I'm saying? That look tells us everything. You know, the owl looking at us in that way. So what I wanted, before I leave, as I said, you know, please pick up this book by Sister Ricketti if you want to learn words. I had a whole back inside if you hadn't had technical difficulties on vocabulary words for you, but you know, but that's not happening. And well, as I'm talking to you about these, all right, for the children, let them find this little book called Ancient Egyptian Drawing Book. It teaches you how to draw the meta-lecture symbols. You know, it's great for the children, great fun for them. All right, here we go. Yes, my people are from Marion, South Carolina.
Yes, in the chat, some people had put some books that you had listed, as well as how you can get the cards that you had mentioned.
Okay, now, Infidisi is on the street on 125th Street most days, so you can go up there and you'll find him on 125th Street in Harlem selling these cards. So
yes.
you go out there if you're on the East Coast, or he's going to be speaking at KRST Unity Center of African Spiritual Science next Sunday. So you can ask him and find out. Now for the children, again, these are great little books. They're hieroglyphic, find a word, and this one is hieroglyphic crossword puzzles. And they do deal with the symbols, but it works just like a crossword puzzle. They give you the symbols, and you have to fill in the words, what they mean in the crossword puzzle. And you have the answers and the solutions are there, but it's a great way to teach the children how to view the symbols. And I love this one. All the kids, even my adults, like this. It's find the word. You know the old find the word where you have to go and have to connect the words. So you have to then find the symbols that connect to spell the word. So it's a great way to learn the symbols without going through the transliteration.
Yes.
When I lived in Nigeria, the people used to say that when they tried to speak English, it hurt their heads because it's not our language. It's not our language. So when we translate our Medu Nature into English, it hurts our heads. It hurts our heads. And so that's why it's so difficult for us to understand it. So learn the symbols, learn the sounds, start listening to music in the minor pentatonic scale. If you have any other questions, there's dance and all that stuff, you know, because I'm a professional dancer by trade, in addition to all the other stuff I do. My dance company is Forces of Nature Dance Theater in New York City. So please, we're 40 years old now, so that means we know what we're doing, and we make sure that we celebrate the African diaspora, and we make sure that our mission and vision is about celebrating our people from all over the continent. All right, so any questions and comments and concerns, put them in the chat, and I'll make sure that I answer them. And if there's anything that I can get you, you know, like I said, I wouldn't. If you're interested in a class, if you're seriously interested in a class, then please let me know. And if the children want to learn Medu, I am more than welcome. Available to teach them a class. All right,
yes.
on a regular basis. On a regular basis. All right,
thank you. Yes, thank you.
Right, make sure y'all are at KRST Unity Center of African Spiritual spiritual science tomorrow. We start at 6 a.m. with chanting and meditation. So please come and be with
and
us.
our prayers are with KRST Unity and Baba America Ra. Our prayers are with KRST Unity. And as we continue to support all the work there, and the connection between ASCAC and KRST Unity is strong. So we are so happy that in the membership meeting, you were there to take on this brick here in teaching us and showing us the seriousness of educating ourselves. And Meta Nature and Cora, just to, to figure out, just to hold the instrument, just to look. Yeah, we talked about that last night as well. We looked at the vulture, and yes, we know it is more than just a picture and a sound. It's a mood. It's a whole thing for each letter to come through. So thank you for sharing that and talking about the sense of the sense of the words. We honor you in keeping the scribe in the sesh and being the sesh and for the next generations. And
let me say one more thing, Makeda. If there's anybody out there that wants to create a Medu study group, because I'm out here on the West Coast by myself. I don't have my East Coast community anymore. Since COVID, I haven't been traveling back and forth. I used to go back twice a month, but now I'm being locked down here on the West Coast. So if there's anybody out here that is seriously studying the Ndu and wants to take it into the symbols and out of the transliteration, but really to get into the meaning of the signs and symbols, then please get in touch with me, because this is my love, this is my life.
And I heard some of the East Coast ASCAC study groups are now assigning the preliminary challenge, which is really heavy on Meta Nature. And so I think there was a call out from Jerome for us to actually get into those classes, Meta Nature classes. So the Flag family, Baba and Mama Suzanne, you guys are far